to Road America as Ferrari turns this fantastic circuit red for this weekend of the Ferrari Challenge. An extraordinary place just outside the village of Lake Elga. This extraordinary track, some 4 miles long and really challenging for the drivers, will offer something of a test and a fitting test in the sunshine, as well as the weather conditions are glorious and set for our drivers across their races this weekend as we reach the very sharp end of Ferrari Challenge North America for 2023. Having been to Miami and COTA and Road Atlanta and Montreal and Sonoma, here we find ourselves then at Road America, ready for the lights to go green. And there is this extraordinary track, undulating, that's for sure, testing, absolutely, technical, you bet. And there you can see the drivers who are champing at the bit to get out there. And if my eyesight, which is failing along with the ravages of time, is Tony Davis looking like he wants to get out there first and foremost and try and set the best possible time to give him pole position. So, as I mentioned just a few moments ago, what an extraordinary calendar it has been, from Homestead, Miami to Texas, and then Road Atlanta, Montreal, Sonoma, of course, in the Napa Valley, and here we are in Road America in Wisconsin, ahead of the Finale Mondiale event to be held in the Tuscan region of Italy at Mugello towards the end of October. Please follow us on @Ferrari Races. So I wax lyrical about the beautiful countryside here and the topography of this place. This is precisely where we are on our map of America then. Road America, I guess. Me driving here, kind of couple and a half hours from Chicago is about fair, and just north of Milwaukee as well. Wonderful location for this supreme circuit, and you can see the paddock there. Let's take a look at the track then, as I really have extolled its virtues. Some 14 turns, and we have a number of them that really test. 5 of them are left and 9 of them are right-handers. And interestingly, that it was a highway engineer, one Mr. Cliff Tuff, that chose to carve this track from 525 acres of Wisconsin farmland back in mid the 1950s. So there we have it. Well done, sir. We owe you a great debt because it is extraordinary. Weather conditions today, as you can see, air temperature 21 degrees, track temperature 29 degrees. It's about perfect for racing. And I have to say, we are blessed with better weather than I expected, certainly than that we experienced on Thursday and yesterday. Down there in the sunshine, as always, with the shades on, I'm sure. Hello, good afternoon, Amanda Busick.
Well, I don't wear sunglasses on camera, but I do have them ready for me on the roll after we do this hit. And you said the word glorious, Dave, and that is exactly what it is down here. We are back at Road America for the first time since 2021, and some of our veterans are back here and some of the rookies. I was actually talking to Matt Kurwczewski ahead of this qualifying session, and he said that he was here in 2021 just testing. And he talked about his growth from 2 years ago to right now as he's battling for that championship. And we talk about this being the penultimate race of the season. We are going to go to the Finale Mondiale. I expect most of those championships as well. But nonetheless, we mentioned some of the veterans. Remember this 2 years ago. This is when we first saw Manny Franco in his first ever race. He took the pole, took the race win, and ever since then, he has been a name amongst the series.
Thanks so much, Amanda Busick, then. And in all the talk of veterans, she didn't mention me, of my advanced years. Completely polar opposite to that is Shay Adam, who's alongside me, young and wistful. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dave. And quite the opposite in our experiences here at this track. I'm the veteran and you're the rookie. So welcome to Road America. On behalf of American fans all over the world, they are quite envious of your journey here.
I have to say, you have been telling me all season long this is one to really look forward to, and I must say, Shay, as always, you're not wrong. It's a remarkable place, but I tried to say in my introduction that, you know, it's a track that really has to be tamed, doesn't it?
Definitely. It's not the easiest track in the world to learn, 4.048 miles. The green flag comes out, and the first of our Trofeo Pirelli AM cars, as you rightly mentioned, Tony Davis takes to the track. It's a place that takes a lot of respect and a lot of laps to try and figure it out, because the 14 turns are all very different from one another. You've got the carousel, which is probably the most famous of all, the long duration right-hander. Since the repave, it's gotten even trickier. But then you consider Canada Corner, which is is at the end of the back straight after the kink, which again is one of those. Do you keep your foot flat? Are you brave enough to handle that? Turn 1 that they're going into now, that's one of the most deceiving corners on the entire track because you think, oh, I can run wide. It's fine. There's curbing on the exit now. Well, yes, you can. You'll lose your track from track limits, but also there's a massive bump at the exit that's gotten cars airborne. So
Really?
you have to be very careful about that.
See, this is what I love listening to you explaining the nuances of the different circuits that we go to as we look at Michael Porter right now, who's out there and currently sitting P6 in the Drivers' Championship at the moment. Right at the sharp end of the Trofeo Pirelli AM Championship is Justin Rothberg right at the top of the tree at the moment on 107 points, and then Tony Davis chasing him behind. And of course, I mention the points because in the Ferrari Challenge, when it comes to qualifying, it is quite critical because pole position carries not only the fact that you're going to be the first person on the grid, but, Shay, also a point.
A point. And looking at the math coming into this weekend's race, 34 points on offer. Now, don't forget, we have the Finale Mondiale coming up as well, so that will be another 34 points.
Yes.
So ultimately, you've got 68 points left in this championship that can be gained or lost. Well, you start the race, and depending on how many cars are in your class,
Yes.
that gives you points. So accrual at this stage is critical for Justin Rothberg, who is the championship leader. But watching in qualifying, who do we need to keep an eye on? Well, Justin has 3 poles on the air. So does Brian Cook. And the Cookie Monster has been in fine form as of late. So we do have competition brewing for stealing away those championship points.
And this is what we absolutely love. It reaches the crescendo towards the end of the season. And of course, you know, you don't want a foregone conclusion where someone has run away with it. And I don't think anyone could ever accuse that of happening in the Ferrari Challenge. You know, uber competitive, lots of drivers out there with the potential, would you say, all those points still up for grabs to do some damage at the top end of the championship. So going to be very interesting to see how this weekend plays out.
It will have an effect one way or the other, and for sure it could even determine if people decide to go to Italy, because people always think at the beginning of the season, I'll enter for a bit of fun, there's some great American tracks on there, and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm leading the championship, I guess I'd better buy a plane ticket.
Yes, all of a sudden the incentive to be there becomes ever greater. Okay, so the drivers then installing their cars as we look at Brian Cook right now. Ferrari of Seattle driver then with the hugely distinctive livery across that 408 Challenge Evo. There is Tony Davis then, and Tony Davis for Continental Autosports. One must remember, with Tony Davis in particular, Jay, coming into 2023 season as a champion, but a champion who has vaulted 2 categories to be where he is now. And, you know, he's been right at the sharp end.
Correct. And Tony Davis has a win on the air. He's got a 2nd place. He's got 2 third-place finishes, a fast lap, 2nd in points, no pole position yet.
Yeah.
No better place for him to get it done than here today.
And also you explaining those statistics just goes to show that actually it's as much about consistency, isn't it?
Exactly.
And banking every single point that you possibly can that can put you into a very, very good position come the season end.
And the interesting thing, going through and taking notes on my notes yesterday, I'm not much of a nerd, every driver in the Trofeo Pirelli AM class has 1 bad finish. That's it. Just one. One DNF. 1 association. So it is that close in the championship that it's just one little slip up and all of a sudden it's wide open once again.
I full of respect as so many people, your work ethic in terms of looking and crunching the numbers and also looking at the form guide as well. It is really, really interesting. Of course, for us as ultimately race fans, which is what we are, you know, we want to see these big open battles with still lots of opportunity for other drivers to do good.
That was not the ideal line for Brian Cook to go through Canada corner. Now exiting and going back uphill towards turns 13 and then the critical approach into 14. Hard braking area before you have to get the power down nice and early for the long straight. And it is long and very, very, very uphill.
Right.
If you're ever going to ride a bike around this place, which they do, they have charity events where you can ride Road America. You get to turn 14. Well, you get to Canada corner and it is literally all uphill from there. But you get to turn 14 and you see a wall of pavement ahead of you and you go, yeah, I'm going to ride back the other way. It's fine. Really, don't need to get back to the start-finish line.
Tony Davis gives us our first meaningful time. The reason I'm laughing is because as Shay was mentioning a bicycle, she just took one look at my svelte-like figure and her head was nodding from side to side as if I would.
Some people are brave, Dave.
Yeah,
you never
okay.
know.
Right, well, Tony Davis's brief sojourn at the top of the table has been ousted by Chris Cagnazzi, has delivered us a 2:12.204. Early stages of qualifying. We're not going to read too much into the times just yet, but as again I have said on many occasions during the course of this wonderful season with Ferrari Challenge here in North America, it's a short, sharp qualifying session, Shay. You get the car into the sweet spot and you've got to deliver.
It's a short, sharp session with a very long lap. So when your lap times are north of 2 minutes, 2:10s at the best, you're looking at very few opportunities to try and improve. Chris Cagnazzi going to P1, it's exactly what I was talking about with stealing away the valuable points. Chris has done 2 races this season. The last race he did, he took maximum points from in the form of pole position and the race win. He didn't get the fast lap, so he didn't take all of them. But that was 16 valuable points that could have gone the way of somebody who's done the entire season. So, Chris proving exactly why he is a potential threat this weekend, as is Brad Favre.
Look at that.
Pole position not yet associated with his name, but fast lap and race win at the second race at Circuit of the Americas earlier on in the year. And again, a man who hasn't done every race. So, championship leader Justin Rothberg right now is going, yeah, okay, I'm happy with this. Tony Davis is going, no, 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 my points.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's all about the acquisition and retention of those points. So, as you were saying, Brad Favre then, the Ferrari of San Francisco driver with a 2:10.364. Next best is McCade Wang with a 2:11.544. We've got the clock running on Tony Davis now for Continental Autosports. Tony is currently sitting P5, as you can see from the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen. And as we watch him cross the timing line now, he improves significantly with a 2:10.342. So that's taken 2/100ths out of Brad Favre. But now Mark Musso has gone quickest with the first sub-2:10 time. It's a 2:09.628 from Mark Musso. Driving that number 13 car now, if memory serves me, Mark took a win at the opening race in Circuit of the Americas.
He did at Homestead, Miami Speedway, as it was.
I beg your pardon.
But
You're
yes,
right,
yes, you were correct. The opening race of the season did go to the way of Mark Musso. He missed the last round of the championship at Sonoma, so he dropped himself out of the championship points, if you will. But Mark raced in this class in 2021, came home second in the first race, 5th and 2nd. So he's got the experience of running at this track, and Canadians tend to do well because there is Canada Corner, just saying.
Okay, just saying. So the way it looks at the moment is Musso, Cagnazzi, Davis, Favre, Vettel, Chuck Whittle, their P5. Then it's Cruz and Wynn. And we're seeing names move up and down the timing screen all the time. As here comes Justin Rothberg, Ferrari of Palm Beach. And what does he do? He banks at 2:08.802. Now, that is an extraordinary lap because all of a sudden he has found 8/10ths over everybody else. And 8/10ths quicker than Mark Musso. Justin Rothberg with a 2:08.802. And brought it out of the box, really. Installation lap, nailed it. Job done.
He can park it. At this point,
He
it might
can.
drop if he feels comfortable enough that nobody else is going to catch that time, which you can't be too sure because everyone has been improving lap on lap.
Indeed. And here in particular, with your supreme knowledge of this track, of course, something that we do talk about during qualifying is we look at the number 13 car, Mark Musso, who's currently P2.
Exiting Canada Corner.
Exiting Canada Corner. Tyre longevity is something that we have to consider. We've got a reasonable track temperature. We've got a reasonable ambient temperature. The tyres that they qualify on, tyres they're going to race on.
Not a concern here today with the track temperature and the track surface after the repave. It's very gentle on tires, ironically enough. So we should have no issue with the Pirellis lasting the entirety of the 10 races. I feel comfortable that these guys can push all of qualifying and all of the race, not worry about a loss of grip.
Exactly the information that I was looking for. So Mark Musso then going for an improvement. He's now 7/10ths. It's 7/10ths behind Justin Rothberg. Chris Cagnazzi moves himself back into P3. Then it is Tony Davis, Dave Musial. He is now P5. Then it's Brian Cook, Omar Balkasoon, P7. Chuck Whittle is P8. It's McCade Wang and Brad Favre then who complete the top 10 as we speak at the moment. Still got 5 minutes of this session to go as we ride on board with Alfred Caiola then. Ferrari of Long Island, target time 2:08.802. We're running the clock as he approaches the timing beam now. Is this going to be an improvement from P15? Well, it's not. Stays P15 for the moment. More to come potentially from Alfred Caiola than the Ferrari of Long Island driver.
What a great onboard, though, to see when you are looking almost as if you're laying back in a rocket waiting for launch, because you're looking at the sky coming up the hill. It is such a steep incline. We welcome back Dave Musial to the championship as well. He ran at Sonoma, but he did take a bit of a gap before that.
Yes. No, it's good to see Dave back, and if again memory, which fails, serves correctly, he had a podium at Sonoma as well. The Ferrari Lake Forest driver is currently P6 with the time of 2:22.557.
Busy hands in the cockpit of the number 30 as well for Dave Musial's the red gloves. We're going sideways, trying to catch the car going through turn 1. You are correct. Dave Musial, 4 starts on the year, 2 second-place finishes. The first race and his last race. So let's keep that pattern going, please, Dave.
Absolutely. So Justin Rothberg at the moment is untroubled right at the top. So a 2:08.802, as you can see from the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen. Mark Musso is some 7/10 behind. Then it's Brad Falva, Chris Cagnazzi, and Tony Davis. But now, all of a sudden, it's a 2:08.802, and getting closer still is Brian Cook. He's now just within 2/10.
The battle to see who will be the first driver to 4 pole positions on the year has just intensified. Justin Rothberg has put himself in a very good position. Last lap, a little bit of a cool-down lap, maybe giving himself a bit of space, and now Chris Cagnazzi crosses the timing line and gets just under 0.6 of a second within the pole time as well. So this pole is not done. 3 minutes left on the clock. That's 2 more laps for most of the competitors.
Yes, you're absolutely right, and we love it when it goes all the way to the checkered flag, as running there in the number 5 car, Michael Mathis, in the traditional colours of Michael. Then it's kind of this pale blue colour, which is really, really distinctive on the 4A Challenge Evo.
Bright red glowing brake rotors, though.
Yes.
It's still fairly early on in the day. I mean, we're not long past lunchtime, and those brake rotors are hot. So he's glad that it's cooled off quite a bit temperature-wise.
So with 2.5 minutes remaining in the session, Michael then brings the timing beam, and 2:08.802 is still the target of everyone. The man that's got closest to it is Brian Cook with his time, which is just 0.2 down. The number 66 car is Brad Falva, driving for Ferrari of San Francisco, running the clock on Brad right now. Target time 2:08.802. Is this going to be an improvement from his P5 position as he breaks the timing beam now? I don't think so. 1.2 seconds down on the Justin Rothberg time. So Justin Rothberg then 2:08.802 is still with about just a shade under 2 minutes left to run. Is the time still to be beat as we watch Lawrence Wynn now, Ferrari of Seattle.
Beautiful line by Lawrence Wynn going through the kink as well. His coach will be very pleased with that discipline to follow exactly where he should. Now coming in through Canada corner, a bit off the apex, but that's okay. He still carries good speed, and now this uphill section goes through 12, 13, and then up towards 14 as there is a change in timing. Tony Davis up to P2, and he is just over 1/10.5 off the pole time.
Now, Tony, having crossed the timing line when he did, if my calculations are correct, he can do 1 more lap,
Correct.
Shay.
Yep.
So we will see if Tony is able to extrapolate that point away from Justin Rothberg, and of course that P1 position as George Lawrence now for Ferrari of Seattle, sitting in P8 with a time which is just around about 0.8 away from our P1 time. It is Rothberg from Davis, from Cook, Cagnazzi, Musso, Falva, Whittle.
Oh, wow, Tony Davis on the brakes, using every inch of braking that he can, and he's caught Brian Cook. Brian very heads up, moved out of the way.
Yes.
That's at the exit of turn 5. Very clean driving from both drivers. That shouldn't affect Tony Davis's lap.
Huge respect among the drivers, and if you're on a hot lap and a driver sees you approaching on a hot lap, he's going to do everything he can to get out of the way.
Nope, Tony's backed off.
Yes.
He's looked down at his predictive. He's seen that it's not going to be good enough. I'm not going to take any extra life out of my Pirellis. I'm going to save them for the race. P2 is an excellent starting position, particularly here. And what we need to find out is how many cars qualify for Trofeo Pirelli. Which side of the track is Tony Davis going to be starting on? Because Justin Rothberg has pole, that doesn't mean he's got the ideal side.
No, that's a very fair point made. As we look at the Mark Musso car, the checkered flag has come out on the session. Now, of course, anyone that's on a hot lap on the session, they can complete that lap, and the time that they post will count. However, I don't, if I'm honest with you, see anyone troubling the times of Rothberg and Davis. Chuck Whittle, as you can see, P7 with a time which was 8/10 down on the pole sitting time. So, dramatic qualifying session for our Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers. But what I will say is a hugely clean and tidy qualifying session where we saw some excellent examples of a great awareness by drivers when someone was on a hot lap, and we saw that with Cook just a few moments ago, didn't we? Just one example of that, not impeding anyone else, not blocking anybody else, you know. And oftentimes, you know, you don't do it intentionally, you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I talk to drivers all the time, as you do, Shay, as well, and actually a number of drivers say, irrespective of whether a driver gets out of your way or not, just by virtue of the fact that they're there, you lose a minutiae of concentration, and that costs you valuable time.
It's true. It's one of the hardest disciplines to learn in racing, the art of qualifying, and that is something that some people can master and others continue to struggle with.
Yeah. And there have been, well, there's a litany of drivers that you and I could name that have been great racing drivers, but actually not brilliant qualifiers.
It's true.
Conversely, there have been some brilliant qualifiers that have never seemed to be able to quite perpetuate that into their racecraft.
It is true. Justin Rothberg has yet to see the checkered flag, at least according to our timing screen, so we will await the pole sitter as he comes back in. 5 fast laps on the season for Justin, only 4 pole positions, so he'll want to try and keep that as it is now with more fast laps than poles, but this will at least help out his championship aspirations 1 point further clear the rest of the pack.
We could see the back end of Justin Rothberg there, climbing the hill into the entrance to the pit lane. And he will feel that that and Ferrari of Palm Beach is a good job done. Their center screen is the Ferrari of Palm Beach driver, Justin Rothberg, then young whippersnapper that he is, and full of talent, and actually really nice guy to chat to as well. I was, when we were in Sonoma, Dave Musial, he of extraordinary fun and loves the paddock and the ambience in the paddock, and he said, do me a favor, when Justin's on the podium, as inevitably he will be, he said, you know, I need you to call him Rottweiler for me.
Oh my gosh.
And I did. And Dave, you still haven't paid me yet. Joke, of course.
Was he paying you an ice cream?
Justin and I really laughed about it, you know. Said, you've got to come up with something for Musial for me. So let's take a look at the results then. Justin Rothberg it was that did it and gained the point for pole position within class 208.802. Then it was Tony Davis. Good effort from Tony. Well done. Then Brian Cook, Christopher Cagnazzi, Mark Musso, Brad Falver, Chuck Whittle, Lawrence Wynn, Dave Musial, he who we were just talking about, P9, and Brandon Cruz. They then occupied what is effectively the first 5 rows of the Trofeo Pirelli AM grid ahead of Omar Balkasoon, Michael Porter, McCade Wang, Michael Mathis, and Alfred Kayola, who we featured in our qualifying show, watching him giving us some fantastic onboard shots earlier on in that qualifying session. So they get 15 minutes within which to post the fastest possible time they can before it becomes time for their colleagues in Trofeo Pirelli to go out there and do exactly the same. Will it be advantageous, Shay, for the Trofeo Pirelli drivers that are about to come out now? They, of course, have got a little bit of benefit of some relatively recent rubber having been laid down.
It should make a difference. The track has been developing so much ever since this repave was completed earlier on in the year, of which Road America did a fantastic job and put so much time and effort into making it perfect. Every series that has run here has made it better for the next series to come. And that has been evident week on week even. You've found NASCAR was here one weekend, and the next weekend was a different series, and the different series found it much better than NASCAR had it. So it's been interesting to watch the progress of the track as it settles in, as it naturally would, as you expect. So session to session, slight difference, but it will make a slight difference.
What a lovely backdrop that is. Just, if only my kayak was on the roof of the rental car, but I regret to say it isn't. Road America, that's precisely where we are. We've just seen Trofeo Pirelli AM qualifying. We're about to see our Trofeo Pirelli drivers to go out onto the track. And their 15-minute qualifying time as we get the green flag then. And the clock starts immediately, and all the drivers, well, I say all the drivers, the first of those getting out there to see what they can do. And the first to show is the car of one Mr. M. Franco.
No surprises there. The
No.
hometown hero, the man who just got the first win for the 296, the brand new Ferrari GT3 car at Road America, twice over, looking to try and get more wins in a 488 challenge car. He and his coach, Alessandro Balzan, sharing the car back then.
Ale Balzan, who is, in his own right, a hugely successful driver.
Goodness.
And has proven to be a supreme coach to a number of drivers. And it's something that we do talk about when we're on there, and that is the relationship between the racing driver and his or her driver coach. It's critical, and you know, these drivers get so much from the inspiration and the efforts and what the driver coach can bring. As we look at John Bennett now for Foreign Cars Italia.
I'm so happy that John Bennett is in this series. I can't tell you what a joy it is, Dave. A friend of mine for a very long time, a
Yes.
long-time IMSA competitor, multi-time champion, winner of the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, the 12 Hours of Sebring, Watkins Glen 6 Hours. He's just done everything, and I don't think I've seen a bigger smile on his face than I have in this paddock. It's wonderful to have someone of the ilk of John Bennett here and doing well and competing.
Yes.
It's so much fun. We've got our championship leader, Matt Krzyzewski, out there as well, and Jason McCarthy in number 11. We've got so many people out here who are just, you would think on a piece of paper, all right, they're going to get a trophy. Well, they're going to get, well, for sure, they're going to get, oh,
I know.
I've run out of trophies.
Yeah, all of a sudden, yes, it's littered with talent, isn't it? I was speaking to Matt just ahead of this qualifying session, and Matt always takes time to talk. And you know, in his stages of preparation, as we look at Jason McCarthy, he was just slowing down then to
Giving space.
And Jason McCarthy is another driver. He would never. I find it extraordinary this year, Shay. Again, if my statistics are correct, Jason McCarthy, I don't think has had a race win, which I find absolutely extraordinary. He's had P2s, P3s, but the win has eluded him.
That is correct. 3 times he's finished second. He's finished third. He has 6 podiums on the year, but none of them being the top step. Now, when we raced here in 2021,
Yes.
in this class, he took 2 victories. So, Jason McCarthy has clearly had a circle around this state for a long time, knowing that this is a giant opportunity. Unfortunately, the man we're on board with right now, Manny Franco, possibly the most comfortable driver around this track in the current conditions, in the current brand of car.
Absolutely, and Manny then, who is at one with this circuit, allows, I think that was John Bennett that
was
went
John Bennett.
through.
Another man who has several wins
Yes.
in different iterations of different cars at this venue, including an overall win back in 2018.
Something else that race drivers always tell me is, you know, track knowledge is supreme, of course it is, but seat time, combine the seat time with the track knowledge and you are in a perfect position to absolutely nail it. And both John Bennett and Manny Franco, as we were talking about, both drivers that should be able to exploit that advantage that they have.
Yes, well, and looking again on paper, it's very easy to look at it on paper and figure everything out. Jason McCarthy with the 2 wins in 2021, John Bennett with 2 wins in other series here,
Yes.
Manny Franco with 2 wins within the last few weeks at this
Yes.
venue, Onofre Triarsi, who we welcome to the series this weekend. He's driving car number 23, as you'd expect. 2 wins in a different series in a Ferrari last year at this venue. There's so many drivers with so much success at this track, it's hard to narrow it down to who would have an advantage.
Yes, you're right. Yes, you're absolutely right. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how it plays out. Not only during qualifying, but also the races to come as well. Of course, each class of the Ferrari Challenge get 2 races across any race weekend. And here we are in Road America for this weekend, so we're watching John Bennett then and running the clock on John Bennett. Now, fastest time that we saw earlier on was in the AM category, if my memory serves me, was in the 208s, 208.802, so expecting potentially that we could see John Bennett cross the line in a what's he done? 2:10.505.
Not a bad opening
No.
gambit. The opening laps from the AM category the last time around were in the 2:12s for
Yes.
the fastest. So just to give you an idea, Jason McCarthy goes up into second. He's a scant 79 thousandths of a second off the time of Bennett. Here comes our championship leader, Matt Krzyzewski. Let's see what he can do.
As he was going into that turn, my goodness, he was wrestling with the car and pushing it as hard as he possibly could. So the Ferrari Beverly Hills driver then breaks the timing beam and gives us, what about that? a 2:07.157, and then Triassi, as you said, back here at, for this weekend in Road America with a 2:08.593. So Matt Krzyzewski becomes the first driver to put it in the 2:07s, and as I say, he was wrestling with that car on that final turn 14, so he will feel that there's still a little bit more if he could be a bit smoother.
There's a 2:06 out there. He can get it. That is the alarming thing to everyone else after the opening lap, because he was pushing his Pirelli tires sooner than everyone else was. Now, Matt Krzyzewski is not leading this championship by accident, so clearly he's learned something over the course of the year, and qualifying has been a speciality for him. 4 pole positions, 5 wins as well. So Matt knows how to go well in these cars, and he is pushing very hard early on. As is Roberto Perena. He just did his opening lap, good enough for 4th position, but Roberto had a red flag causing incident in yesterday's practice session, went to a backup car. He's back in his primary car now, though. There's no T next to it, so that's the good news. But that will be in the back of his mind, as now we're going to see what Manny Franco can do.
Dylan Medler has put himself into P3 with a 2:08.647. Sergey quite rightly says, we're watching Manny Franco to see what he can deliver now. Currently languishing, if I may say that, in P9 within class. And we know that's probably not where we're going to see the number 18 car when it comes to our timing screen. Runs out of that turn 14, heads uphill now, and what a hill it is. Carries as much speed as he possibly can, pedaling that 488 Challenge Evo for all it's worth as Manny Franco breaks the timing beam, and he gets within a little of Matt Krzyzewski, but it is P2. Manny Franco delivering a 2:07.986, so there's 8/10 behind them. Carried a lot of speed through turn 1 there, Shay.
Too much. You heard the squeal of the tires as the Pirellis were begging for forgiveness, but now comes Krzyzewski. Can he improve on his fast lap time? 2:07.157 was last time. He does not go faster than that the second time around. Still fighting the car, though.
Yes, and that's interesting. That's interesting to watch. So Triassi then is P3, the Ferrari of Central Florida driver. Jason McCarthy has moved up to P5 in class with a 2:09.065, followed by Michael Petramalo with a 2:09.205. But for now, there are only 2 drivers in the 2:07s in Trofeo Pirelli. Whoa! And around has gone the number 55 car of
Roberto Perena, and he is stuck in the gravel. That will bring out a red flag, meaning that Matt Krzyzewski's opening gambit time could be even more important.
Yes. So
giant cloud of dust as well. I wonder if he went off at the apex on the inside at the track, and that's what caused all the dust to come up. Now we see Dave Musial 2.0 leaving the pit lane. What happened there?
Here we go.
Oh, Roberto Perena lost it early in the mix there. Yep, he just went a little bit wide coming through turn 13. It's the uphill section. Very easy to get thrown off the track there.
And it was enough, but what was really, really good to see was the gravel trap worked perfectly, didn't it? In terms of scrubbing off the speed, parking the car. Okay, it's inconvenient, of course it is, but it does its job. And Roberto saved from making any contact with any barriers whatsoever.
I believe we're still green at this point in the
like
session.
Do you think that car is far enough away?
No. If it got there, someone else can get there.
Fair point.
That is the problem with motorsports, and he cannot extract himself. Look at the amount of gravel just stuck behind the rear Pirelli.
And if ever you get the opportunity to be in a race car paddock, one of the oddest things that you will ever see
is out now. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're absolutely right. One of the oddest things you'll see is highly trained race technicians with Henry Hoover vacuuming out the gravel. Meantime, Justin Rothberg did a great job in Trofeo Pirelli AM, and he is with Amanda Busick.
And he has found his way over for his interview as well. Hello from pit lane again. And Justin, your 4th pole of the season. And we've talked about championship. We've talked about the evolution of the track. But you were here in Club Challenge back in 2021. What do you make of what Road America was then and now?
Like, it was 2021, so that's a long time ago, and I had just started driving, so I remember it being a little daunting. Now it's very smooth, there's a lot of grip, and it's a fun track, and you can go really fast pretty easily.
As you lead this championship, would you say that you've come into your own this year?
I think so. I wasn't even supposed to do the championship. I was enrolled in like 3 or 4 races, and then started leading, so I figured I had to stay and fight.
And even better news, Hurdy has to go to Italy for the Finale Mondiale.
Thank you, Amanda. It's as if you and he had been talking, Shay.
Funny that is.
Precisely what Shay had said, that, you know, you come into a championship and all of a sudden find yourself
Yeah.
P1 and you think, I'm still going to do 4 rounds.
Well,
However,
yeah, I'll go run Homestead. That looks like a bit of fun. Well, okay, Circuit the America. Yeah, I'll go run where the F1 cars go. That's fine. Oh, I'm leading the championship. Okay, I'll go to Road Atlanta. Ooh, Road Atlanta's a great track. Yep, still leading the championship. You go run with F1 at Montreal. Yeah, I think I can do that. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've run more than half the season. I'm still leading the championship, and up next is Wine Country in Sonoma. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. You
Yeah.
go from wine country, you come to cheese country. I mean, it's not a bad life.
absolutely. And all of a sudden the commitment is with a capital C, isn't it? And, right, so at the time of the red flag then, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, the order is and was Makievsky, who is P1, then it's Manny Franco, then it is Onofrio. Did I pronounce that correctly? How do I pronounce
Onofrio.
it?
Triarsi.
Onofrio. Triarsi. Forgive me, Onofrio. I've got it right this time. Dylan Medler, Jason McCarthy, Michael Petromalo, Roberto Perena, who we've seen, John Bennett, Custodio Toledo, and Dave Musial 2.0, who is currently 10th.
I feel like we haven't had a good lap from Musial 2.0
No, I
as
agree
of yet.
with you.
I saw him coming out of the pit lane at one point, so that's not a great situation for him. But someone who is looking to try and get another pole position later on is Lisa Clark, and she's with Amanda Busick now.
Well, Shay, you guys have been talking about how to tame Road America. So, Lisa, what would you say? What's the best way to tame this place?
Wow. Well, you have to hold on tight for sure, and you know, just really have the respect for the car on this circuit. This circuit's amazing. I mean, very fast, and you've got to be on your game.
I saw you doing a couple stretches over here to get ready. Do you have a pre-qualifying, pre-race routine that you go through?
Yeah, I do. I'm sure everyone has theirs. You know, I don't want to tell all my secrets, but you know, it's really just engaging feet and eyes and hands, and just kind of getting everything in sync and being ready to go.
It's a bit of a tight championship in your class. How comfortable are you?
Quite right now at the moment. You know, leading the championship, you have a lot of people at your back just trying to get there, and so we'll see what happens. I'm really hoping for a good quali today to just kind of help with the race, and then we'll just see what happens.
Good luck and have fun.
Thank you.
Lisa Clark is always in my opinion, phenomenon, Shay.
Yeah.
She does a lot of racing. She really races very, very well. And I have to say, the position she is in the championship at the moment is reflective of her ability. She is a great driver.
It is. You consider we've had 10 races this year, 5 pole positions for Lisa Clark, and every one of her 3 wins this year has come when she has started on pole. So she knows how important qualifying is
Yes.
throughout the course of the race. It's a lot easier if you don't have to use your rear view mirror and you just focus forward, or rear view camera, I should say, as they are in these cars. But for Lisa Clark, not just staying focused on what's happening in North America, expanding her horizons. Next weekend, she's going to race at Spa. I mean, it's a wonderful opportunity, but she's looking at this as a growth moment. And to respect the car and the track, that is exactly the answer that you want to hear from people when they come race at Road America.
Goes back to what I said about seat time, you know, and yeah, you're absolutely right. Lisa will be in Spa next weekend. In fact, you know, been very privileged as we have in the European series to see Lisa across a number of the circuits over the last couple of years, and has really, really enjoyed that time. Now, I can see cars making their way into the paddock. Now, Shay, the clock didn't stop when the red flag came out, and as sometimes it does, and the session, forgive me, can be suspended and restarted again, but they take a view that however long is left on the clock, what the drivers are going to have to do to get back up to speed again and get, you know, whether it's worth it, whether it isn't worth it. Clearly, I would suggest that indicates to me that this session is going to close on time.
If we were at Lime Rock Park, it would be a very different story if the track was only a mile and a half long.
Yeah.
But the truth is, 4.048 miles, 14 corners. It takes about 3 minutes to go around and get heat into your tires and be good enough to ready to go, for then a 2-minute and 7-second lap if you're Matt Krzyzewski.
Yep.
That's going to be all she wrote. That's all the opportunity you have. So congratulations, Matt. 5 poles out of 11 races so far this year.
Brilliant job done. Chased, of course, by Manny Franco. And as you can see, the checkered flag is waved and that session is completed. So Shortened qualifying for Trofeo Pirelli drivers. And the order is Gojewski, Franco, Triassi, and Dylan Medler. You can see. Actually, whilst Lisa was talking to Amanda, you could see Ale Balzan in the background with headphones on, barking out instructions. No, he doesn't bark, does he? But uttering
suggesting strongly.
suggesting things to the likes of Matt Gojewski. And Matt then has done a very, very good job in qualifying.
I actually had the privilege to chat with Alessandro Balzan a little bit earlier on, and he was saying the difference in coaching Matt Gojewski, as opposed to coaching anyone else that you would deal with, you're looking for hundredths of a second with someone that you're coaching. Yeah. That's normally not the situation when you're coaching someone. That's the situation when you're co-driving with someone or examining data for yourself. But with Matt, he has refined his skill to the point that Ale, now professional driver, championship winning driver.
Absolutely.
He is trying to help Matt get to that next level. And now we can hear from Matt with Amanda.
Well, Matt was just saying that he was hoping to see us again, and that is because of this pole position plaque right here. And we were discussing your lap time, 2:07.1. Would there have been a 2:06 out there?
I'm not sure. I don't think so, to be honest. I think that the temperature today, the weather conditions have thrown a bit of us off. I know there's a decent gap. All week, the good laps have been 2 and 3. My second lap was an abort, and my third wouldn't have been any better. So I don't know if it's temperature related, weather, but whatever it is, I'll take it. We've been pretty good this weekend. This team's been incredible to work with this week, all year, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
As you said, the race cars looked great, been fast in practice, clearly fast here today. Expectations for the race going the distance?
Well, the track's awesome. It is not easy to pass. At the end of the day, as much as I want to take home the winner's trophy, I'm here for a championship, and I've got to keep that in the back of my mind. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to fight, though, so we'll give it our best.
And I just heard engines fired, but I do have one more question because they were talking about it in the booth. Where you are the #1 qualifier, do you have the preferred lane headed into turn 1?
I'd say so. It's not NASCAR. You can't choose your lane, but the inside, I'd say that's probably preferred, so I'll take that too.
Spoken by someone that would know NASCAR, so I guess we'll take the word for it, Shay.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. We appreciate that little bit of insight. Yeah, and with 10 cars in the Trofeo Pirelli class, it does mean that Justin Rothberg will have the ideal line for his pole position as well. So that's a benefit all around to all the pole sitters. They'll all be happy down there, Amanda.
Right. So great to hear from Matt. What I really, really respect about Matt is the fact that he's a very humble racing driver, and not all are. He's always there to credit his team because the team give him the car. He has to pedal it with respect. Really, really nice to hear that humility, if you will. So, and the results for Trofeo Pirelli qualifying are as follows. Matt Gojewski then P1, Manny Franco P2. Onofrio Triassi P3, Dylan Medler P4, Jason McCarthy. Then it was Michael Petromalo, Roberto Perena, John Bennett P8, Custodio Toledo P9, Dave Musial Jr. Didn't really get the opportunity to shine in that quali session.
And this is going to leave all of our Trofeo Pirelli drivers fired up for the race because nobody really got to show their cards. And if it hadn't been that early flyer from Matt Gojewski, could have been a very different looking lineup.
And this just reinforces, we've talked about this on air a number of times, when it comes to qualifying, you're always better off going in and putting a banker lap in as early as you possibly can because you do not know what is going to happen, and that's been proven in that session.
Exactly, and you can't leave it to the racing gods, as it were, because sometimes they like you and sometimes they don't.
That's true. That's a nice back end to look at, isn't it? The back end of Dana Goodwin's car.
I'm so glad you were talking about the car. Coppa Shell AM qualifying is about to kick off here. And yes, as you mentioned, Dana Goodwin with the all-red number 146 Ferrari. Coming in from Ferrari of Newport Beach, Dana, one of the gentleman drivers, looking for a second trophy this weekend, possible second trophy, as the Ladies' Cup and the Gentleman Cup comes into effect with this category of cars.
Yes, indeed so. Though you can see final stages of sort of mental preparation there before the cars are released, and that happens just as we talk about it, and you can see the cars released now, and out they will go onto this really rather long and unforgiving track to post the best time they can in their qualifying session.
So each driver who's gone out first in the sessions has qualified second on the track. So who is that who's going to qualify second in this session?
Interesting observation.
Bright yellow car, would that be Steve Check?
It's possible. So let's see. We can see already trying to make some headway. I think that was Bruce Cleveland.
It was.
Really going for it in the early stages. There's Darren Bernstein in the 169 car. Now, Darren missed out, if memory serves me correctly, with racing at Sonoma, but back the Ferrari
And
of
Montreal.
Washington and Montreal.
Yes.
Back to full effect now here. The Ferrari of Washington driver. 15 minutes on the clock. The first one of those minutes is gone already. Another driver, in my opinion, that has had something of a purple patch this season, has been really, really joyous to watch, has been Lance Corley. He's been doing some great jobs. And Dan Cornish, I was having a conversation with Dan Cornish a couple of weeks ago in Pebble Beach. And Dan is a fantastic character and a great racing driver as well. And I think he's P4 in the points, if memory serves me.
He's missed a couple of the rounds,
Yes.
yeah, and that has resulted in him dropping out of the championship battle, as it were. He was super competitive with Lisa Clark early on in this championship. So I will say this early on, Dan Cornish, congratulations on qualifying second in this session, since you were the first car out of the pit lane.
It was Dan.
So
Okay.
we have to keep an eye on that. But Dan does have 1 pole so far on the year. As I mentioned before, Lisa, with the 5 poles, leads the way in this category. But other people with pole positions, Roger Monteforte, he's got 1, and Lance Colley has 2. So we do have quite a few drivers on the track who have gotten the proverbial pole award for starting in the best position in the AM category before.
Already into our 12th minute of this qualifying session then, as we watch the 163 car of Dan Cornish, the Ferrari of Austin driver. It was the yellow car that we could see in our early shots then as we got this qualifying session underway. So the class we're watching is the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell AM drivers who are out there. Hugely competitive class and a real mix of talent among the drivers, which means that we're in for not only probably quite an entertaining qualifying session, but a supreme race to come a little bit later on as well. And so as the cars head down this start-finish straight then into turn number 1, the Ferrari Silicon Valley driver, Bruce Cleveland, we run the clock on as we do with Dan Cornish as well. So both of those are setting hard and high pace then as they get their qualifying underway. Who is it at the end of the 12 minutes that remain in this session that's going to be in that P1 position and take that Rotiform pole position award? That's the one that, of course, they're all after. It gives them a valuable point and, of course, gives them pole position as well, as Dan Cornish now is tracking Bruce Cleveland. Of course, this has almost become like, over the last couple of corners, something of a race rather than a qualifying session, Shay. Healthy respect between the two drivers, of course, and I just wonder on a track like this, is Dan going to get any benefit off of the back of the car of Bruce Cleveland?
I thought he would have down the drag in between turn 3 and before the braking into turn 5, but he did duck out of the draft, making
Yes.
the look as if he was going to make the pass, and then unfortunately missed the apex at turn 5. Bruce Cleveland managed to get there, but this duo is very, very feisty today, and they are putting on a show for us. I don't think either of the times will be very impressive at the end of it, and it looks like Dan Cornish is actually
He's
backed off a
bailed.
little bit.
Yes.
To try and give himself some space, but that was fun to watch.
And I have to say, whilst watching that battle, credit to the management team here at Road America, this is one of the tidiest, most breathtakingly beautiful circuits that I've had the pleasure of being at. Every single corner, every single piece of tarmac, immaculate. It's a lovely, lovely place. And this is Bruce Cleveland then, Ferrari Silicon Valley. And Bruce Cleveland in the 158 car, really, really going for it. And of course, Bruce Cleveland sits P3 in the Drivers' Championship points at the moment in his class, the Coppa Shell AM drivers. So he had a very, very good time of it in Sonoma.
Did he ever? Pole position, race win in the first race, race win, and fastest lap in the second race. So he's done everything, just not all at once.
Almost banked the whole lot, didn't he?
Just need to make it all happen in one race, one fell swoop. Bruce, you can do it. His opening gambit, 2:13.863. Decent lap from him. So we wait for the rest of the field to come on through. Lisa Clark left the pit lane a little bit later than everyone else. Here's Darren Bernstein, the happiest man in the paddock with one of the most radiating smiles that you'll ever see.
I agree.
He jumps into 4th position.
And there you can see that Bernstein car then. Jeff Nunberg then is a P3 with a 2:15.204. And the fastest time from our Coppa Shell AM drivers thus far, a 2:13.863 with just under 10 minutes of the session remaining. Lance Corley is P5 at the moment. And there you can see the 128 car. The Williams car that we saw right at the start of this session. So drivers making their way out. The Ferrari of Central Florida driver. There is David Williams. So it's Cleveland, Cornish from Nunberg, the top 3 at the moment. But there's still 9 minutes for that order to be upset. And one lady that could upset that order, and it's very, very likely, I would suggest, is this lady, Lisa Clark for Ferrari Beverly Hills.
Lisa yet to set a time. This is her opening lap, so she has had her warm-up lap. A lot of people in this session taking a second warm-up lap, if you will, taking time to make sure that the Pirellis are perfectly up to temperature before asking for every last ounce of performance out of them for the qualifying session. Let's see if Lisa is doing the same. Last car on the racetrack, the last car to set the time. Where does she go? Well, it was P1 for Lisa, a 2:12.620. Not the fast time that we expect to see. We see some time to come yet.
However, for the moment, a full 1.2 seconds quicker than this man, Bruce Cleveland. But Bruce is on a trajectory of improvement, I would suggest, as he continues to propel his 488 Challenge Evo around the final turn, the turn 14 here at Road America. Climb the hill, followed by Dan Cornish, heading towards breaking the timing beam. Now here is Bruce Cleveland.
He did it.
He did it.
And then Dan beat him. 2:12.242 for Dan Cornish. Excellent line coming out of turn 14. Every single inch of the rumble strip as his brake rotors are fully alight as well. Going into turn 1, you do need to get the car slowed down and through there. Bruce Cleveland in second, about a quarter of a second off, and then Lisa Clark. But here comes Anthony DiCarlo. Can he move further up the grid in car number 100?
Currently sits P7. Anthony then is about to break the lead. This looks like a reasonable lap from Anthony, but it's not an improvement. Steve Czech, we also run the clock on right now, driving the 124 car for Ferrari of Rancho Mirage. I hope I said that correctly. I think I did. Climbing up the hill now, P10 at the moment within this Coppa Shell AM class. Let's see what Steve can do. And improves 4 places up to P6 now. Neil Langberg offering an improvement as well. He moves up to P10. And here we can see Roger Monteforte, then the Ferrari of Central New Jersey driver. Currently P10, just hanging the back end out of turn 14 onto those painted rumble strips and heads up towards the timing beam right now. It's P11. As Roger crosses the timing line, he too improves. So we're seeing the times coming down, aren't we? Roger Monteforte now P6.
And here comes Lisa Clark back up the hill, the long climb up the run of the front straight, very long front straight. She crosses the timing beam, good enough for second. So she now is a 2:12.448. Great consistency from Lisa.
I agree. So there are 2/10 betwixt P1 and P2 at the moment, and then a further 2/10 back to P3, which is where this man is at the moment, Bruce Cleveland, who's going for an improvement here for the Ferrari Silicon Valley driver. Loving the livery across the 158 car. It's one of the most distinctive, and they're all pretty distinctive across our pack of cars as he climbs the hill. And can see now the timing in sight. Can he see an improvement in sight for Bruce Cleveland? Yes, he can. First sub 2:12 time we've seen. It comes from Bruce Cleveland. Is that going to be usurped by Dan Cornish right behind him? No.
Dan Cornish does not improve that lap around. So that's an interesting dichotomy we have between the two drivers at the front of the field on this lap. 2:11.534 for Bruce Cleveland, 2:12.521 from Cornish that last lap. A second gained for Cleveland.
Found great pace, didn't he? This is the 153 car that we're watching right now of Neil Langberg. Ferrari South Bay. He's currently P6. see what Neil Langberg can do. And having a lovely chat with Neil and his wife earlier on over a cup of tea. Well, I was drinking the tea, naturally. British, you know.
Really? Never would have guessed that.
No, maybe not. But Neil absolutely is one of the... Oh, someone has gone off now and made contact with the barriers. It was a red car. That's all I saw, Shay.
There's never a small crash in the kink. That's that section of the track. The flags will be out. Everyone needs to slow down and take caution. Lisa Clark, the first car to come across it. Now, the car is stationary off to driver's right, up against the barriers, with the passenger side up against the barriers. So that will be good for extracting the driver. But we will be red flag almost immediately as there is debris strewn across the track. The kink is one of the most daunting parts of the circuit, where if you're brave enough to keep your foot flat, it can work out very nicely for you, but unfortunately it tends to bite a lot of people. And there, once again, it did attack.
And the kink is turn 11, isn't it? So there we can see Neil Langberg.
So we know it wasn't Neil Langberg, it wasn't Lisa Clark, and it was a red car.
I think it was red.
Yep,
I mean,
I saw that as well.
I was looking at the timing screen, Shay, just as I saw that car make contact.
I think it was more red than anything else, meaning possibly 146, 128.
Yes. That's not 128.
131.
Because there is the
There
128
is
car
David
of
Williams
David
coming
Williams.
through turn 5 now.
So is it pointing towards Dana Goodwin potentially? This is all conjecture on our part, and we're just, it's doing the doing the process of elimination almost, isn't it, in terms of the cars that we can see and who are still going around. We will find it. Every car slowing down now with this red flag.
And this will end the session, as we've seen from the previous sessions. So that means that Bruce Cleveland will be our pole sitter for race number 1. That will be Bruce's second pole of the year, the first one coming at Sonoma. So coming into form very well. Dane Cornish, P2. It happened again.
You're right.
The car that left the pit lane first qualified in the second position, but that this could have an effect on our Coppa Shell qualifying session. That could be a slight delay before the start of that. So we will keep everyone well informed on that situation. And for now, we wait for more information, and we won't speculate on anything until then. But all the cars returning to the pit lane. All the cars not involved in the accident, I should say.
And I think it was a Solus car.
Yes.
I don't think there was anyone else. So here we can see Bruce Cleveland and Dan Cornish then. And good job done by both of them. Ferrari Silicon Valley driver Bruce Cleveland and Ferrari Austin driver Dan Cornish.
Oh. And thank you very much to Bert. Catching the pole sitter car at the pit in end of things means we should get our interview before too long.
It's teamwork at its best,
It
isn't
is. I love the IMSA pit lane officials. They're my family and out there to help keep us safe. But Bert on top of the game. Thank you, my friend. Bruce Cleveland getting used to this pole interview stuff. He's done it twice now, so love his helmet as well. That is a great design.
Yes.
We do get the most creative designs and liveries on the Ferrari Challenge cars, and the helmets that correspond tend to be pretty creative.
Yeah, I completely concur. It is a joy to be able to walk around the paddock and just, it's art. It is art.
It is.
To be honest with you. So conversations going on then as Bruce removes the crash helmet and the HANS device. HANS, head and neck support, mandatory, and there you can see Bruce with just quaffing the hair there, and he will be ready in due course for an interview with Amanda Busick, I'm sure. So that's where Bruce will be making his way. So as we got the red flag, it was Bruce Cleveland from Dan Cornish and Lisa Clark, then Jeff Numberg, Darren Bernstein, Neil Langberg, Roger Monteforte, Lance Corley, Dana Goodwin, Steve Check, David Williams, Louis Perescoia, Anthony DiCarlo. And the final cars making their way back to the pit lane now, and with just 45 seconds left in the session, as Shay has indicated, that session will be curtailed, stopped. It will be over, and that's why it sometimes pays to bank a good lap, or as good a lap as you can do very early on in the session, because it's 2 sessions we've seen out of 3 that have been compromised.
Well,
Shay?
exactly, and if you're a Coppa Shell coach, you're going to get into the car and tell your driver, waste no time,
Absolutely.
Don't dilly-dawdle, go get your lap, because it could just be someone completely unexpected on pole position in the category if we do get a situation like this in the next session.
Yes. So the 488 Challenge Evo cars then making their way back into the paddock area. And it's a delightful paddock, and as our camera rotates, you can see just everything about this track is just clean and tidy and well maintained, and it looks lovely. It's a great place to spend some time. I have to say, I really enjoyed my paddock tour earlier on today, ahead of coming up into our TV booth.
Did you find your way into a car?
There's a bit of a story there.
Can't be.
There's a bit of a story there. I didn't quite realise that the message I'd been sent about going out in a car also involved liberating a car from somewhere.
Oh, did I forget that detail?
You might have done.
Oh.
So it hadn't happened today, but is potentially on for tomorrow. Shay had very kindly suggested to me that I really need to go and have a lap of the circuit.
Yes, you do.
And a number of drivers had queued up with the prospect of having me as their passenger. Well, the queue was one, and it wasn't Bruce Cleveland, but he right now is with Amanda Busick.
It was a breakout weekend for the boy from Petaluma and Sonoma, rolling right in here to Wisconsin and picking up pole, and you were able to eclipse Dan Cornish there right at the end. Do you get told those times to motivate you?
No, they just basically tell me what my times are. I kind of focus on myself and let my friends focus on their laps as well. It's a very challenging track, and so you got to be pretty on top of it the whole way.
When you say challenging, for those that are watching and listening, are there certain parts that are challenging, or is it just putting together a formidable lap?
Well, there's two elements. One is just the simple way the layout of the track is. There's a long straight with really hard braking. You got to get into that right. But the track changes, and so it's changed over the practice days and even today, where things weren't as slippery as they were a couple days ago are now slippery. So you have to adjust some things inside the car and your driving to accommodate for those changes in the track.
I was assessing the point situation, and you're not out of it. You came in about 23 points back from Lisa Clark, and I think with that pole position, it'll be now 22. Is this possible, Bruce?
Well, I think, Lisa's a really strong competitor. She's done really super well. I'm going to have to drive extraordinarily well to be able to beat her. I never like it when somebody else has to do less than their best, so I'm wishing her the best, but I'm going to put in my best effort to win.
It's hard to fight when momentum is on someone's side.
Bruce Cleveland, lovely man. Well done, sir. P1 for Bruce Cleveland then. And as he said, Lisa is in a very strong position. Here is the qualifying order then. Bruce Cleveland taking that P1 and the point that goes with it. Then it was Dan Cornish and Lisa Clark, Ben Jeff Numberg, Darren Bernstein, Neil Langberg, Roger Bonteforte, Lance Corley, Dana Goodwin, Steve Check. The top 10, followed by David Williams, Louis Perescoia, and Anthony DiCarlo, the Coppa Shell AM qualifying done and dusted, and the second of our three sessions thus far that has been caught short a little tad.
Yep. We still have one to go, though. We still have Coppa Shell, and that is wide open as far as qualifying goes, who can get a pole position. We've had so many diverse drivers grabbing pole positions there, so we can't award that one yet, and that one does get the cool trophy.
Okay, now we have really enthused about this fantastic track. Let's give you a high-speed lap right now on board with Mark Musso here at Road America.
Hi, I'm Mark Musso, driver of the number 13 car with Ferrari of Ontario, and I'm here to take you for a lap around Road America. Coming up to the start-finish at Road America, getting into 7th gear. We're getting ready for turn 1. Your brake point is the orange marker there, gearing down to 5th gear, carrying enough speed, rolling speed to turn on the throttle quickly. Driving down to turn 3, braking at the end of the wall, down to 4th gear, getting tight early apex, and then on the power fast, get down for the next long straight. Down to 7th gear here and braking just at about the 300 marker. Back to the throttle up the hill, pull up to 5th gear and then braking right by the fence down to 4th, getting in tight back onto the throttle again, and approaching next corner in 5th gear, slight breathe on the throttle, back to full power. Coming down, you're into 5th gear, and then down to 4th, right into the apex back on. And as you're approaching the bridge, you're pulling into 5th gear and then fluttering into the carousel, trying to maintain as much throttle as you can, getting tight to the apex as you approach the end so you can get back to full power, opening up the hands quickly so you don't lose the rear, and then tapping the brakes slightly in 6th gear at the 200 marker into the kink, back to full power, making sure you're in position. This will be at 7th gear towards the end into the Canada corner, then braking right down to 4th gear at that 400 marker, in tight to the apex, getting onto the throttle quickly because you got a big climb uphill, staying to the right, and then a quick breathe on the throttle, and then back to full power here. And as you're approaching the last corner, you're down to 4th gear, making sure not to blow this because it's a high-speed straight. You want to make sure you finish the lap and start your next lap at good speed. And that is the full lap of Road America.
A lot better to do this lap on board something, Dave, than it is to walk it. Trust me on that one. I did that about a month ago. The track temperature was about 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow.
It took a long time because the 4 miles isn't so bad when you're going downhill, but most of the track is up.
Uphill. Well, I've not done that, and it's unusual. And I try to make a plan at every track that I go to, that I experience the track. Now, whether that's by walking, whether it's by jogging, whether it's by scooter or whatever, because I think from our perspective, and I'm sure you will agree, because there's none better than you, to really understand and to hopefully bring the dynamic of a track to life for our listeners and viewers. If you've experienced the track, if we've experienced the track, because sometimes the elevation changes don't come across on TV quite.
Almost never.
No.
Almost never does a camera accurately portray just how strenuous it is on your body physically when you're walking it versus if you're in the race car and you feel the G-forces because you're being pushed down into the seat because there's such an incline.
Yeah.
It does make a huge difference. And I mean, my shoes had a lot of tread when I broke them out at Homestead for the first race of the season, and now they're pretty much slick intermediates.
I was going to say, they wouldn't
Almost.
pass scrutineering, I don't think.
No.
Now.
They would not be acceptable rain tires. So it is interesting, and particularly when you go out and you walk a track, you get to feel where the grip is around the circuit. With this repave, that was something I was very interested in. Dragging my feet around the apexes of
Yes.
most of these corners, particularly turn 1. It's such a critical corner. With all the tire rubber that I thought that had been laid down by the point that I got here a month ago, my shoes slid across the top of the surface. It still wasn't that that grasp that you get if you go to a drag race here in the U.S. That's a big thing. You go to walk out to where the Christmas tree is, and
Yes.
your shoes will come off because they choose the
So
pavement
much,
over
yeah.
your feet.
Yes.
That was not the case here. It's a great repave that they've done. There is just one line. There is one line. So if you go off that line, it's very slippery and very slick. And that's something that I've heard a couple of the drivers talking about. We've been testing here since Wednesday. There's been a lot of Pirelli rubber laid down from various classes.
Yeah.
It's gotten a lot better, but that doesn't mean
Still
that
hasn't.
people are going to take the opportunity to just go 2 cars wide.
It's interesting what you're talking about, the tarmac, the asphalt, and the grip levels. The thing I notice when I walk a track is just how protruding the curves are. When we see it on TV, and we hear it as well, you know, as the drivers try and make the corner as shallow as possible. You know, these curves, they sit out a while, you know,
Ooh,
and
yes.
you know, they can be really, really aggressive. You've got to have nerves of steel.
They're a bit chunky,
Yes,
as it were.
chunky,
They're
that's a good
big
word.
blocks that
Yep.
you drive across. And yes, they can be rather unforgiving, which is why so many of the drivers choose to stick to the actual black stuff instead of going out over the curves. But there is just a little bit more speed to be found.
Talking of art, as we look at Rob McWilliams' car,
Love it.
I mean, come on, Shay, isn't that just awesome?
Oh, the lion on the side, the Super Mario star that you get there, the 1 extra life, the blue wheels, the blue wheels. Thank you, Rob. The purple wheels on the back, the hearts, the crowns. There's so much to see. And what a fantastic guy, Robert McWilliams. We're so happy to have him in the series this year. And he really has had quite the year. I mean, coming in to Coppa Shell, not even going into Shell AM. It's wonderful to see him still competing.
Okay, well, we are being told that the recovery operation and repair operation is underway, but it is going to be a few moments, Shay. So our production head honchos have been very kind to us and said we're just going to take a break for a little while and then come back with the action just as soon as we can. But qualifying will resume and it will return. From Shay and from myself for the moment. Thank you so much. Welcome back to our qualifying program. It's Dave and Shay here. Well, Shay and Dave here to bring you all the action from qualifying from Coppa Shell that is about to get underway. We had a slight pause in on-track activity for recovery and repairs to be made to one of the barriers here around turn number 11. That has now been completed, and the cars, as you can see, lining up down there, ready to go out for their qualifying session. And this particular category is the Coppa Shell drivers who are making haste down the pit lane now and out onto the track. First of them to show, I think, was Ray Acosta, Shay.
I think it was Roy Carroll in the Be Safe car. It was yellow on it, but congratulations, Roy. You're going to be second in qualifying, as that has been the pattern so far. No, you are quite allowed to not recognize that car, Dave. It's been a while since we've seen Roy Carroll running in this series full-time for Foreign Cars Italia. He's got a very good relationship with that whole organization, and Bill Riley, who's a name synonymous with motorsport success, having a good deal to do with that team as well. So welcome back, Roy. We're glad to see you in the Be Safe car back in this paddock.
The score is Shay 7, Dave 0 at the moment. So welcome.
If it's football, that's not a bad score. If it's football, then that's quite bad.
The cars out on track then are our Shell drivers then here for qualifying. And David Veronin, we can see in unfamiliar colours of the 177 car.
There it is. See, we're 0-0 again for this session. David Veronin running in Roy Carroll's backup car. That's why the liveries are the same. David with an incident in one of the test days that required a backup car.
To be fair, the battle that we've seen between David Veronin and Cameron Root all season long, it feels like, has been one of extreme excitement and closeness and healthy respect and regard from both of the drivers, and I'm sure that will continue here at Road America.
Fully agree, and thank you to our camera operators for a shot of actual Roy Carroll out on the track in car number 121. So we'll just have to remember that the numbers are different. But yes, for David Veronin in car number 177, 4 wins on the year, 2 fast laps, both of which came in his wins, and that 1 pole position. He is having a great year as far as the points are concerned, but he is chasing Cameron Root with the points lead. Car number 199, 1 win, 5 second place finishes, and 1 third, as well as 3 fast laps and 3 poles.
The plume of smoke that you could see there just momentarily was where we had an incident during Coppa Shell AM qualifying, and I think it was down Goodwin, but absolutely fine. We need to reassure you of that, but some repairs had to be made, repaired. They were done very, very quickly, which means we're on to Shell qualifying now, and we're watching Frank Szczesniak.
Frank, who again, we welcome back to the championship. He has 2 poles so far this year and 1 fastest lap. So both of his podium finishes came off of both of those pole positions. He feels a lot better when he qualifies on pole, clearly, and he races better. But yes, as you noted, going through the kink, what appeared to be a giant plume of smoke, I would imagine is quick dry that's been put down on the track and then kicked up into the air with Pirelli tires across it for the first time, and that should get better as the session goes on. So hopefully by the time we get to the race, it doesn't look as if we're driving into the Tatooine sunset. Did that for you, Omar Balkasoon?
Well, while we were off the air, Shay and I were talking about the kink, and Shay with much more experience here at Road America than me, and I said, presumably you take that full chat flat if you're very brave, Dave. If you're very brave.
If you're very brave and on new tires and have lots of downforce in your car, then yes, perhaps you do.
Here is Ray Acosta, who I thought was the first to show, but wasn't indeed in the 107 car. And Ray Acosta then, who has he came away from Sonoma having taken 1 podium and then a P10 finish. So Ray Acosta will be hoping to right the wrongs of the second race in Sonoma here
Yes.
at Road America this weekend.
His only DNF on the year for Ray Acosta too. So that was in the second race in Montreal, was
Yes.
his DNF. But yes, equaling that finish at the second race of Sonoma, so trying to bounce back on the proper foot. But you might notice there's a logo on the back of Ray Acosta's car that says 24H. It's because he got to run at Le Mans this year.
Of
The
course.
Ferrari Challenge race was there. So he's having quite an extraordinary season. Even if the results haven't been there in North America, he's gotten some experiences that will last a lifetime.
Absolutely. Talking of Montreal, what an experience that is to run as a support category to Formula One, as we have done for a number of years with the Ferrari Challenge here in North America. And Shay and I were delighted to bring you the action from that less than sunny, certainly first couple of days. As we watch David Veronin now, and the clock is running on him. So as I said, he and Cameron Root have been having a really good battle right at the sharp end of the championship, and that is set to continue right royally over this weekend. I feel sure the Foreign Cars Italia driver David Veronin then crosses the timing line now, breaks the timing beam. It's not necessarily a meaningful time yet, a 2:16.643. More to come from our drivers. John Visca is out there, Ray Acosta is out there, just a couple of the other drivers that we know that are out there trying to set the best lap they possibly can that will give them P1 potentially, as we see the 173 car of Cyril Choksi, who's had some moments of absolute brilliance this year in his green wheel shod 488 Challenge Evo, Shay.
And Cyril is one of those drivers who's really been improving over the years that he has spent in the Ferrari Challenge. This year looks to be a real championship contender, and he's still not out of the points. Keep in mind, we have this weekend with 2 races. We've got the 2 races in Finale Mondiale, and Cyril kicked things off this year with a win. So getting that knocked off, to be able to kick the monkey off your back and say, hey, I know how to win races now, straight off, was pretty good for Cyril. And he goes to the top of the charts for the Coppa Shell category on his opening lap, and we have seen how important that is early on, Dave. So clearly he read the memo.
Bank it if you can. This is Paul Loska then for Ferrari of San Diego. And I say San Diego with much enthusiasm. I spent a few days in San Diego just a couple of weeks ago. What a wonderful city that is.
It really is, and a cool town too. The zoo is fantastic, and they've got all the military stuff there for the Navy as well. San Diego's a really cool place. But Paul Loxa, great story. Paul actually climbing the ladder, coming up through every single step of Ferrari Challenge. And now Mr. Loska finally making it to the Ferrari Challenge, coming into Coppa Shell, not even the AM class. So making a big step up.
Gray Falva has gone fastest then with a 2:10.948. Here's Cameron Root then, who we were talking about just a few moments ago. He is third fastest. Jan Bernier now goes second fastest for Ferrari of Seattle. We're watching the 199 car of Cameron Root. Right now it is Falva from Bernier, Choksi. Eric Marston, good showing from Eric Marston fairly early on. He is P4. Then it is Cameron Root that we're watching right now, ahead of Ray Acosta, Osvaldo Gaio, then it's John Visca. But now David Veronin goes to the top of the chart with a 2:09.353. That's a big, big gap between David Veronin and Gray Falva. Here comes Frank Szczesniak. What can he do? Just 7 minutes remaining of this qualifying session. Almost half of it is gone, Shay.
Watch out for Szczesniak, because right now he's 21 seconds off the pace from his opening lap. This is a man who has 2 pole positions on the year. He is going to jump up. The question is, how far up the chart does he get? David Veronin currently with provisional pole position. Can Frank Szczesniak take that away? Well, he goes from last to 11th. So that was a good improvement. He found 18 seconds worth of pace on that lap.
You can't help but feel there's probably more to come from the 122 car as Cyril Choksi now vaults Tor Haugen to go P2. Haugen is P3. Gray Falva now relegated to P4. We watch the 118 car of Paul Loska then. Where is Paul currently sitting? Well, P14, so expect that to change perhaps at the conclusion of this particular lap that he's on. Veronin from Choksi, from Haugen, from Falva, from Acosta. Then it's Visca, Bernier, Dalton, Root, and Szczesniak ahead of Gaio, Carroll, Loska, and McWilliams. So 6 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Short, sharp qualifying session for our Shell drivers. And it is David Veronin at the top of the chart for the moment with a 2:09.353. The only driver in the 2:09s currently And we do expect to see some improvements, and one of those improvements comes from Cameron Root, who joins the 209 club in terms of time, and is where we would kind of expect him to be, right alongside David Veroni at the moment.
There's a lot of time still to be found, though, for these drivers, as there's only 5.5 minutes of the session left already. So we are almost 2/3 of the way through. And here comes Ray Acosta, the first of the drivers to register a real representative lap, although it was David Veroni who was the first car to cross the timing line. Let's see what Acosta can do. Great livery on his car, as I mentioned. At the back of the car with the Le Mans sticker, but at the front, that blue, it stands out so beautifully. Does he improve? He does not.
Okay, so it remains P6 at the moment for the collection driver. It's foreign cars Italia's David Veronin, who is quickest so far, a full 2 1/3 tenths quicker than Cameron Root, who's P2. Then it is Cyril Choksi, and Cyril Choksi currently sitting in P3. Let's ride on board right now, up this hill, heading towards the timing line then. And you can see where we are commentating from, or you could just from the left-hand side of that picture, and Cyril does not improve either, so remains P3 with a non-improvement on his previously set time of 2:10.481. Staying on board now as he, and there you can see, you and I were talking about those rumble strips, and they really rattle your insides when you cross them, and there we can see it, and Cyril does it right on cue for us again.
Well, and we've been talking about some of the coaches that these drivers have. Cyril has one of the best in the business, and a man who knows how to go very quickly around this place. Robbie Foley actually claiming a pole position here just a couple of years ago. So now he's trying to give the advice to Cyril to tell him how to do exactly the same thing. I've got a feeling that David Veroni is on a fast lap as go through Paul Loska up to P3. Great lap, and he gets dropped back to P4 because Gray Favre has taken that 3rd position away. Now we've got 3 cars in the 209s.
And here comes the 177 car then of David Veronin then, who you predicted you felt he might be on a hot one here. Target time of 2:09.816, which was set by him. And 2:09.353 was his best time. His last time at 2:09.816. His best time 2:09.353. Climbing the hill right now, and crosses the breaks the beam.
Does he improve? 2:09.948. So no, he does not, but barely off the fastest time. Cameron Root 2nd, Gray Favre 3rd, and now Ray Acosta up to 4th with a great lap.
Here comes Cameron Root then, who's currently sitting in that P2 position. You mentioned David Veronin due to an incident earlier on in the in testing across the course of this week. He's in a car which isn't his own, but it just proves how identical these 488 Challenge Evo cars are in terms of their parity. He's been able to climb into that car and set supreme times.
It's a great point, Dave. All of these cars are the same. It's the drivers that distinguish which class you race in based on what lap time that race control thinks that you're capable of doing. So that is why you are placed into the various classes. The Trofeo Pirelli car can do the exact same lap time as the Coppa Shell AM car. It's just the nut behind the wheel that makes the big difference.
Yes. So Cameron Root and Gray Favre then, we run the clock on right now. They are P2 and P3 at the moment, and Cameron Root with traffic ahead of him.
He has Robert McWilliams ahead of him, and he has been catching him over the course of the lap, but McWilliams doing absolutely nothing wrong, carrying on, focusing forward, and driving his own lap. I don't think he's actually slowed Cameron Root down at all. If anything, he's going to give him a double toe up the hill because Gray Favre is going to be the one punching the biggest hole in the air. McWilliams should improve his time, and Root, by therefore, should improve his time as well.
So as they make their climb up the hill now, the target time at 2:09.353. That's what we're looking to be eclipsed here. And what happens, Shay?
He got a toe, 2:08.950. Well done, Cameron Root. Now, a lot of that is luck, just where you find yourself on the track, but you have to utilize it at the right time.
Do you know what? You're right, luck does play a part, but when he saw the benefit of the opportunity, because he was trying very, very hard to get on the back of him, wasn't he?
Yep, he was. And you wait until the proper time around the track. You don't want the toe going through the kink.
No.
That's not going to do you any good by the time you get to the front straight. And especially having the second car, Gray Favre there, Gray did not improve his time. So that really was the benefit of Cameron Root. Amanda?
Have the benefit of being on pit lane next to all these teams, and when you hear the roars of cheers happening, that one came from MG1 as Cameron Root took that lap time. But during that break that we had before getting back to qualifying here, I saw Cameron going back and forth with his team just staying amped and getting ready for this lap. So well done to Cameron.
Great job done by the Ron Tonkin Gran Turismo driver Cameron Root. Then as we look at the 122 car right now, Frank Szczesniak, who's P9 with a time that he would like to be able to improve. Where is he? He's about 1 second and 7 tenths down on our pole sitter at the moment, and we are running out of time, Shay, because all of a sudden the time has gone and we're down to just mere seconds left in this qualifying session.
I think Cyril Choksi might be the last driver to get a lap. If he does stay with his foot down in this one, he crossed the line with about 17 seconds remaining in the session. Okay. And he did improve his lap time the last time around, so he is still learning, but 1.1 seconds off of the pole time of Cameron Root. As now we turn our focus to Gray Favre to see what he can do on this last lap. This will be the final effort for Gray.
You're right, the checkered flag is out on the session. However, any driver that crossed the timing line before the checkered flag came out means they can continue with the lap that they are on, and it will still count. So that's why you never know who has done what in qualifying until every single car has crossed the line after the checkers. So Gray Favre then is going to cross the timing line now. He's not going to be able to do another lap because the checkered flag is out. It's a 2:09.884. So stays P3 for the moment. Not sure whether anyone is improving out there or not on those that are able to complete their lap. So is it going to be Cameron Root or is it going to be David Veronin? And David Veronin is on a quick one, I would suggest.
He is pushing hard. The body language of the car moving around, getting squirrely under the braking. For David Veronin, this is a potential 2-point swing in the championship.
Yes.
Either he gains a point, separates himself from a tie with Cyril Choksi for second, moves a little bit closer to Cameron Root, or Root takes pole position and gains 1 point on him. Veronin, P2. I'm going to say it because I can say it. First car to leave the pit lane in every one of our qualifying sessions, qualified second.
P2. That's an amazing quirk of fate. It really
I love
is.
patterns.
Yes, okay. We're watching Matt Dalton now for Ferrari of Long Island climbing the hill. Currently P14 for Matt Dalton.
I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket now.
I was going to say, can you pick my numbers for me? Matt Dalton then, a non-improvement. So the order we have, certainly the top three, Cameron Root, David Veronin and Gray Favre. I don't see anyone else making huge gains in that, although Frank Szczesniak has just crossed the line and improved 1 place. So it's going to be Root, Veronin, Favre, Acosta, I think, across the first 2 rows of the Coppa Shell category virtual grid that we are talking about. Osvaldo Gaio then, Ferrari of Central New Jersey then, P9 with a time of 2:11.5. So a mix of times there in the Shell session, which went by just like that, Shay.
It did. We waited for such a long time.
Yes.
The anticipation built, and then it delivered in one fell swoop. Cameron Root pole position again. This is his 4th on the year, so Cameron will be very pleased with that performance. But to me, the guy to watch in the race, it's got to be Gray Favre, because this is a young man who's got 4 starts on the season. 3 of those have resulted in a win, 1 second place. And for Gray, he's not in this championship battle. The 2 guys ahead of him are the championship battle, also with Cyril Choksi, who starts P5. So Gray Favre has nothing to lose, and he knows that the 2 guys ahead of him have everything to lose.
And that's that's an interesting thing to have in your mind, isn't it? You know.
Yep. And his driver coach, Johnny O'Connell, will be reminding him of that, I assure you.
Right, Cameron Root then has done it, and he is P1. Let's hear from him now. He's with Amanda.
Well, as we've been handing these out all year, I just absolutely love that the track layout is on these pole positions, and Cameron Root was the one that dominated here at Road America for qualifying. And Shay, he heard you say 4 pole positions this year because he was smiling as he was walking over here. But Cameron, I want to talk about car placement. It looked like you got some good access on the track, maybe even a tow there from a fellow competitor. How did you nail this one?
First of all, I just want to thank God for keeping me safe and all our competitors out there. And as far as car placement, yeah, coming into turn 14, I get really lucky that there was a car being there. I tried to draft him at the end to try to get an extra 10th.
So when you think ahead to the race, you guys are going to be later in the afternoon as the track continues to evolve. How will you break this one down for yourself?
You know, I'm just going to treat it just like this qualifying, one lap at a time, and just try to do my best and learn and have fun out there.
Well done.
Congrats, Cameron. I'm glad that you were able to hear that. And just a little reminder, 4 poles on the air. That is quite an accomplishment.
Okay, let's take a look then at the results. And as we finished in Coppa Shell, it's Cameron Root P1, David Ferroni in P2, ahead of Greg Falver and Ray Acosta. Then it was Cyril Choksi and Tor Haugen, Paul Loschka, Frank Szczesniak, Osvaldo Gallo and Rob McWilliams. They round out the first 5 rows ahead of Jan Bernier, Eric Marston, John Fisker, Matt Dalton, Roy Carroll, and no time set by Mike Luley. Therefore, he is P16. That's the way it looks for our qualifying program from Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell here at Road America. With the paddock as a backdrop, we are in somewhat anticipating 2 very, very good races to come. A little bit later on today, we will have Trofeo Pirelli and we will have Coppa Shell as well. And there is the hospitality area for the Ferrari weekend here at Road America. For now, from Shay and from myself, thank you so much for watching. Please join us for the races. Bye-bye.